Hello. All right. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Um, Sorry for being quite a bit late. We're trying to address some things behind the scenes. Um, I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes or seconds. Share the link with someone, and please let me know in the chats if the sound is coming out well. I think I'm very particular about that this evening, just to be sure that things are going well. Um, all right. So share the link with someone, let them know where you are this evening, and also, um, if you're already here, also like the video so that the YouTube algorithm can show more people. All right, just a quick one. So you know we're always here by 8 p.m. every Sunday, where we talk about conversations using real life scenarios, things that you're already familiar with, but we tend to use those things to pull out life principles, just so you understand. And today is not going to be any different because we're going to be pulling out a very nice analogy from nature, and the analogy is being pulled from the topic called quicksand. So today we're talking about quicksand. Quicksand. All right. Now, have you ever been there's if you're in Nigeria, and there's a very high chance that you have never experienced a quicksand before. Um, I mean, I've never heard of anything like that in Nigeria, but I know that there are some countries and there are some continents that tend to have it more than others. But just to explain what a quicksand is, it's basically irregular looking sand. And I don't know how it got its name, quicksand, but it's a kind of sand that if you step on, you gradually just go down into the sand. Like it's not normal for you to sink in sand, but that's what this sand does. You just keep going down. And it's very gradual. It's very gradual. But the crazy thing about the sand is that it has a particular pattern where that you can walk on it. Like you have to walk on it in a particular way. First of all, you have to know that it is quicksand. Secondly, you have to know how to walk on it. And thirdly, it's like swimming. If you know anything about swimming, you know that when you're in water, you don't struggle. Because the more you struggle, the more you go down. That's exactly how quicksand is. The more you struggle, the more you go down. So you have to calm down first. All right. I need you to understand those three things, because if you understand the concept of quicksand, then it's easier for me to use this as an analogy for the rest of the night. All right. Cool. So here are some things I need you to note about quicksand. Number one is that nobody steps into quicksand planning to sink. Like you won't even know that this sand even does that. That's the first thing. You won't even expect it. So it's unplanned, right? Here are some things now you should know about it. Number one, it doesn't look dangerous. It looks like every other sand you're going to see on the road. Like it's just there. It looks normal. All right. And number two, it does not pull you down immediately. It happens gradually. It's a gradual process. Just gently. Before you even notice, it's almost at your waist level, but it's a very gradual process. That's why you may not even notice that you're sinking. And so sometimes there are some things that happen in life that just gradually creep in. And it starts from somewhere. It's just very gradual. And then one day you wake up and you're like, how did I even get to this point? How did I get to this point? And it's just, for instance, think of prayer as an example. If you want to do a prayer, if you want to do a prayer streak, say you want to pray for 10 days, or you want to pray for 5 days, or you want to pray for 30 days or 60 days, and you've done it up to day 5, and then you miss one day, you miss another day, before you know, you have missed 7 days. And I know this because I run a Bible in 1 year community where we're about 18 there. And so there are some people now that are up to hundreds of days behind. And how did they start? They just missed 1 day, 2 days, covered up for the 1 day, and then they missed 3 days. And before you know, 4 days forward, 7 days backward. And now they have missed over 100 and something days, just like that. All right. So nobody wakes up planning to lose their purpose. Nobody plans to wake up one morning and say, okay, this relationship, let me just destroy it for no reason. Nobody wakes up expecting that, okay, today I'm going to be spiritually cold. You don't wake up to develop addictions or destructive habits. All these things are things that one small action repeated over and over again, and before you know, you are deep down. You understand? And these are just basically how destructive lifestyle or things that want to affect you gradually, things that want to affect you in a big way, this is the normal pattern. I mean, think about the temptations of Jesus. The first temptation wasn't even bow down and worship me. It had to come from something small. Change this stone to bread. It was something small, like, okay. I mean, to be honest, if you want to use like a human psychology to respond to that, okay, let's see where this is going to, right? You will just turn the stone to bread to see what Satan has up his sleeves. But what I'm trying to point out is that is the concept of quicksand. It's gradual. It's just one bad decision repeated over and over, and before you know it, it has a compound effect. Let's use that word. So I'm going to be looking at this concept of quicksand through different angles, and let's look at the first angle: the danger of gradual decline. You know, there is a high chance that when you're crossing the road, if you want to cross a road and you see a car coming with speed, there's a chance that you're going to run crossing that road. But if you're crossing a road and you see a car just rolling down, it's not even speeding per se, just rolling down, you may tend to walk while you're crossing the road. It means that as human beings, there's a level of urgency that comes to us if we can sense danger coming if you can sense danger at a faster pace than danger at a slower pace. Our sense of urgency as human beings depends on our analysis on the danger around. And that's why somebody will say, oh, I don't drink, but I drink socially. I'm not saying that drinking is bad, but what's the main reason why you don't drink in the first place that makes you comfortable to drink socially. I don't know if this example works, but I think we should just fly away from that. All right. So most people don't ruin their lives in one day. They drift. One compromise, one excuse, one delay, one bad decision repeated over time. I think I've mentioned that. And eventually, what was one small issue becomes a trap. And so this is the core line I want you to understand from this. The most dangerous traps are the ones that feel harmless at first. I talked about the concept of a fast moving car versus a slow moving car. If as slow as that car is moving, if it hits you eventually, you're still going to get injured, right? But you may not feel threatened initially because it's just rolling down. All right, let's look at some biblical examples. Samson did not lose his strength overnight. He did not lose it overnight. He slowly ignored the boundaries that he was given. And those small compromises over and over and over and over, by the time he realized what was happening, it was already down. Imagine someone like Samson getting to a point where he had to pray that God should give him strength one more time so that he can just destroy everybody and himself. The strength that he was given by God to deliver Israel, he ended up using it to also kill himself. Literally, like he ended up using it to end his own life. And so you find out that if you're not careful and you're only looking at the things that look obviously dangerous, it means that you are going to most likely, if you're not careful, fall into the trap of gradual timing, like things that just happen slowly but gradually. Let's look at the second concept here, and that's the quicksand comfort. Now, initially, when you're going down in a quicksand, it may feel fascinating, like, oh, I've not seen this before, or maybe you already know what's happening, but it feels cool that you're going down that way. I mean, it's something, even if you go and watch in a YouTube video now, you will still be like fascinated. Oh, wow. So people can actually sink in sand. But what you don't realize is that for every inch you go down, it is harder to come out of the quicksand. For every inch you go down. I mean, someone who is just knee deep into the quicksand can easily come out when you compare it to somebody who is waist deep. At that point where you're waist deep, your legs may not even be working the same way again, right? So the longer you stay there, the harder it is for you to come out. Now, I want you to understand that comfort itself is not bad. You understand? But comfort can become dangerous when it stops growth. And over time, I've realized that one of the ways that God pushes us to the next level is to make us uncomfortable in the current level. And I'm not saying this from a point of, oh, I read this in the Bible or this. I'm saying it from my own personal experience. There are some jobs, for instance, that the only way you can leave that job is for them to start treating you badly in that job. If that's the only time your brain is going to be like, oh, okay, I think it's time to move. Otherwise, you will stay there. You know that this job is not the best job out there, but you're just comfortable until they start treating you badly, or maybe they have fired like 5 people around you. Be like, oh, now, now I think I need to run. So you need to understand that one of the ways that God pushes people forward is through discomfort. Please let me know if the sound is coming out, okay? Let me know if the sound is coming out in the comment section. So that's one of the strategies God uses. So don't just stay there and just remain settled, remain calm. You know, when you're no longer moving, you're no longer settling, you're no longer learning, then that comfort becomes a problem. All right? Comfortable people become comfortable in places where they were only meant to pass through. God wants to make you the owner of companies, and now because he wants to teach you what it's like from the employee point of view, he has given you a job. Now you have gotten a job, but the salary is too good. And so what do? You decide to sleep in being an employee. Meanwhile, God has destined that you're going to be an employer. One of the ways God is going to push you out of there is to maybe they will fire you or something. I don't know. Anyways. So be careful what you consider as comfort. Be careful what you consider as comfort. So here are like two examples. Remaining in unhealthy habits because they feel very familiar. Staying in environments where you no longer where that's no longer help you to grow. And let me add one more. Avoiding unnecessary change because comfort feels better. You know, there are a lot of things that I keep saying it. What I say is this: we all know what to do in order to probably move to the next phase of life. We all know what to do in order to get better at something or even make our lives a whole lot better. But the question is, are we going to do it? That's now the question, because it's not like we don't know what to do. We know what to do, but you go do them. Do you understand? Will you do it? Will you do it? You know, that's now where the question comes in. So let's move to the next concept, and that is the quicksand of procrastination. One thing that finishes even believers today is procrastination. So we have talked about the quicksand of comfort. We have talked about the quicksand of gradual time. And now let's talk about the quicksand of procrastination. You know, I'll do it tomorrow. I saw this somewhere and it actually hit me somehow. You saying you'll do something tomorrow is it's if you look at it this way, it's almost like you're trying to display some certain level of pride. Because if no one knows tomorrow and God has laid some things in your heart to do today, or there are some things that you are meant to do today, but you're saying, well, I'll do it tomorrow. You're saying a couple of things there. Number one, you're saying that you are sure that you will be able to do that in the next day. That's one. Right? Let's just stick with that. You're trying to say that I don't have to do it today because I'm sure that I'll do it tomorrow. But that's simply not true. All right? Procrastination is one of the most dangerous forms of quicksand, because what you have the strength to do now, you're shifting for later, you know. And that's how you go from dreams and everything that you've planned to do, everything that God has planned for you to do in your lifetime remains a dream because you never took action. And so your dreams remain untouched, your potentials remains unused. Everything that you could have just done in order to make your life better or to change the life of someone else, it all ends in wishes, all because you didn't take that step. So what we repeatedly postpone eventually begins to bury us. While you're on the quicksand, you can easily decide that, oh, this is not a good soil to step on. Let me move now. And you come out of it. But every time you say, well, let me just let it climb up small and then I'll come out. Before you know, sorry, I was looking at my legs because I'm trying to, analyze the example very well. That's 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds that you're delaying to take action of coming out of the quicksand. it may be too late eventually. Because here's another thing about quicksands. They don't all have the same timing. So even if you've been on a quicksand before, some may take you down faster than others. Do you understand? So it's not just about, oh, I know that is how quicksand is. You could enter some and you're down faster than others. All right. Now let's look at a biblical example, and that's the example of the rich fool. Obviously, the rich fool planned endlessly for tomorrow, but forgot that life itself was not guaranteed. That's the point. You're not guaranteed of anything else. So you have to try as much as possible to live life like now is the last moment. So I want you to reflect on this. How many important things have you delayed because you assumed there will always be more time? How many important things have you delayed because you assume that there's still more time? All right, now let's move let's move forward, and that is the quicksand of compromise. Quicksand of compromise. The major failures begin with small compromises. Rarely does anyone wake up and say, well, today is the day I want to become an addict, or today is the day I want to become a thief, or today is the day I want to start cheating in this marriage. It's usually a very gradual process. One compromise leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. And so it comes with one small lie, one small hidden habit, one small ignored conviction, one small repeated excuse. Gradually, it builds up, and then it starts feeling normal. When you see some of these young men out there that if you're in their presence when they're talking about how many ladies they have slept with, you'll be wondering, like, okay, we understand that this is like your thing, but how did you get to the point where you are so comfortable talking about it outside? Like, you don't even care who is actually listening to you. It started with one day, started with one person, started with one decision. All these guys now that are very corrupt out there, that if they see you, they go from begging you. I don't want to mention any area, like, but you know what I'm talking about. They go from begging you, hey, how you doing? Small, and before you know, they are now on the aggressive lane. If you don't give us this, and you'll be shocked, like, how did we go from anything for us to now wanting to extort you by force? It's a gradual process. It's a gradual process. And so one of the ways you can avoid this particular one is to make sure that you kill it when it's still very tender. All right. And of course, let's look at Lot as our biblical example. You know, Lot did not move to Sodom overnight. The way it looks like Lot woke up one day and just went to Sodom. But no, it all started from, oh, give me my own land, and started fighting over land and all of that. And okay, Abraham said, choose. Any side you choose, I'll take the other side. And you know that Sodom looks attractive from it looks attractive from, I think one of these days we're going to have a conversation about Sodom. Sodom looks attractive from a distance. You know, and then he looked forward towards it. He started going gradually there, and then eventually he settled there. And what just started as proximity nearly turned to participation. Sodom was so bad that even angels, even they even wanted to finish angels that came there. And obviously, you can see how that whole compromise decision nearly claimed his own life, but he claimed the life of his wife. If he had just stayed with Abraham, or if he had just used the land that he selected from Abraham, because Sodom was not part of the land that Abraham asked him to choose from. He chose. So after choosing, how did he go from choosing, okay, from here to here is my own? How did he go from choosing from here to here is my own to migrating to Sodom? That's the point I'm trying to make. Because, okay, my servants and your servants are having issues. Fine. In order for us not to have issues, choose an area. I'll take the other one. Now you've chosen an area. Instead of developing that area, he fell into the quicksand of procrastination. Maybe he wanted to go and settle first, then come back and gradually build it. And then from there, he landed in a city that requires you to compromise. Okay. We have two more scenarios to look at. And let's start with the quicksand of spiritual drift. You know, one of the scariest forms of quicksand is spiritual drift. Nobody wakes up one morning and decides that I want to be far from God. It just happens gradually. You miss one prayer, one neglected devotion there, a growing dependence on self, a decreasing sensitivity to conviction. You know, one thing I always do anytime I'm praying is to consciously tell God that everything I have is not mine. Like, he's the one that gave me everything. I'm not even saying it particularly to God, but I'm saying it so that my own ears will be hearing it. So that any day that I want to start feeling like, okay, oh, do you know how much I earn? Do you know where I stay? It will start reminding me like, bro, calm down. Remember what you said in the morning when you were praying. You understand? So some people say, oh, okay, I've realized that throughout this period, I did not pray. I did not go to church for 4 years. And those were the most successful years of my life. It was successful because I'm not saying for sure, but even if you don't go to church, there are some principles in the Bible that are still laws of nature. For instance, he that works, a laborer is worthy of his wages. He that does not work, let him not eat. I don't have to be a Christian to have a job. And if I have a job, then there's a high chance that I will be paid. So you being successful in the 4 years that you were not in church doesn't necessarily prove anything. You get the point. And so spiritual things are spiritual. Let's leave it at that. You know, and you have to know that it is not measured in distance, it's not measured in kilometers, it's not measured in miles. When you are beginning to spiritually drift, it is measured in coldness. Gradually, you're no longer sensitive to the things of the spirit. For someone like me, there are some things that I can perceive before it happens. For instance, there was a time where I know that I had not prayed in a while, right? I'm not even going to come here and start proving like I'm a saint. But there was a time I didn't pray for a while. And the next thing I did was to take a while of segregation, separating myself from anything that could distract me for a number of days. And then at the end of that period, I prayed during my planned praying hours. And then what happened as a result was, from that night that I prayed, I started dreaming. The next night I dreamt again, and it's not one dream, like two, three dreams. And I know that, and at the moment I started dreaming, I just knew that all this while I've actually been missing, because I know how my dreams work. Usually my dreams are like warnings. They're like warnings or confirmations. That's how my dreams usually come up. Like, if I dream about something, it's either a warning for myself or for somebody else, or a confirmation of something that I'm expecting. And I can't begin to mention how many times like my life got better after a dream confirmation or things like that. But it has happened severally. So one way you need to know yourself, one of the ways I get indications that I'm drifting apart is if I've stayed about a month and I've not dreamt anything. I just know that, hey, bro, you have to check again. No? You understand? So I want you to ask yourself these questions. Number one, am I closer to God today than I was a year ago? What habits are strengthening my faith? And of course, ask yourself this question: what habits are weakening it? All right. And then this is the last concept we are going to look at, and it is how to escape quicksand. It's how to escape. Step number one is awareness. I've said this many, many times. If you have been following me for a while, you would have heard me say this quite a number of times. Number one, you cannot solve a problem if you don't know that it exists in the first place. One of the ways to solve a problem is to know that it exists. And so the first step to solving a quicksand is awareness. And it's just basic questions you can ask yourself. Where am I drifting? What am I tolerating that I shouldn't be tolerating? What am I postponing? What am I becoming comfortable with that I shouldn't be comfortable with, right? These are gradual questions you can ask yourself. Step two is, now you are aware that something like this is happening, is to take action. Small corrections made early can prevent major consequences later. It's like servicing a car. When you're driving your car and then you hear one small sound, that is the time to go to the mechanics. I'm hearing a sound in the right leg of my car. Check. And then they check and they tell you, oh, it's the ball joints or it's the camber bushing. I've maintained a car for a while, and usually if you fix it that time, it may look like it's just one small thing you fixed. But if you don't fix it, that's ball joint to spoil, and then the car will no longer be, every time you're driving, it will be wobbling gradually. You may not even notice. And that wobble will start spoiling other things in that section of the car. It will start spoiling other things. And so you find out that if you are just fixed it from the beginning, then you won't need so much money to keep maintaining the car. All right. And that's the whole concept of, oh, that guy is having maintained car, or that woman is having maintained car. It is about fixing issues early. So don't wait till that small problem becomes a crisis. where you now have to start going for therapy, or where you have to start going for sessions, or where you now have to start telling your pastor, pray for me, I don't know what's happening. The earlier you respond, the easier it is to recover. Don't forget, we're talking about the topic quicksand. Quicksand. And things I would like to remind you before we close is that nobody plans to sink. Nobody plans to sink. And the most dangerous traps out there are the ones that appear harmless at the beginning. They appear harmless at the beginning. And also, some people are not trapped by failure. They are trapped by comfort. They are trapped by comfort. You know, if you think about how the gospel started spreading, God sends the Holy Spirit to the disciples. But the disciples, they decided to stay together. They forgot the Great Commission. They stayed together. And it was until they started killing them for preaching the gospel that they started running to different places. And then each place they run to is now their lifestyle. They start preaching there. But it was persecution that was one of the major propagators of the gospel in the first place, because they were now too comfortable where they were. And so not every problem that you're facing in your life is there to sink you. Sometimes it's there to make you to do better. All right? I'll close this way. Let me read what I've just written. The greatest danger is not falling. The greatest danger is sinking and convincing yourself that you are still standing. Many people are not experiencing sudden destruction. They are experiencing a gradual decline. The question is not, have I fallen? The question is, am I sinking? Because when you are going down in quicksand, you're still on your feet. It's not like you are fallen. It's not like you're lying down or something. You're still on your feet. You're just going down. So it's very important that you understand that the best time to escape is before you are too deep. That's the best time to escape. So thank you so much. I hope this topic blessed you. I hope this session was also a blessing to you. Before you go, I want to mention that this week we are going into, I'm going to be releasing a 10-session awareness video for men. It's a session where we are going to handle different topics, from pressures around fatherhood to pressures around social expectations. We are all going to handle that in 10 sessions. And each session is not long, right? Each session is like 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes max. So, and it's going to start this week, one session per day for the next 10 days. And that should take us through the sessions that we have. And remember, the reason why we are doing that is because this month is the Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. You know, it's unfortunate that the world we live in today expects so much from men, yet support men so little. And the reason is because they feel that men have it all under control. But you need to remember that even Jesus Christ, that had it all under control, he knew what the end was going to be from the beginning. He still told his disciples to pray with him. Pray with me, pray with me, pray with me for 1 hour, right? So that session, those sessions that are going to be starting tomorrow, I need you to understand that they are not just for men. It is for men to know how to navigate life, and it's for women, children, sons, daughters to use it to understand how best to help the men and the boys in their life. All right. So thank you so much for joining. Remember, the topic we handled today is quicksand, and usually we are here by 8 p.m. every Sunday, except something comes up. We will be here every Sunday by 8 p.m. Thank you for joining, and I wish you a very good night's rest. Bye.